The WTO texts are complex and lengthy because they are legal texts dealing with a wide range of different activities like, for example, food sanitation, industrial standards, intellectual property. But there's a number of simple fundamental principles that runs through all these documents. And these principles are the foundation of the multilateral trading system. And one of these principles is predictability through binding and transparency. For example, sometimes to promise not to raise a trade barrier can be more important than lowering one, because this promise, for example, gives companies a clearer view for their future opportunities. And with stability and predictability, you gain more investment. Jobs are created and consumers can fully enjoy all the benefits from competition. The multilateral trading system is an attempt of the governments to make the business environment stable and predictable. There were several rounds of negotiations on these agreements, and for example the Uruguay round increased bindings. And in the WTO, if countries agree to open their markets for goods or services, they bind their commitments. For goods, these bindings obviously are for ceilings of tariff rates, and sometimes countries do import on rates lower than their bindings. That's usually the case in developing countries. In developed countries, usually the rates charged and the bound rates are the same. A country can change its bindings, but only after negotiating with their trading partners, because that might mean to compensate them for their losses. And one achievement of the Uruguay rounds was to increase the number of the trades under binding rules. In agriculture, 100% of goods now have bound tariffs. The result of it is a much higher degree of market security for traders and investors. And the system tries to improve predictability and stability. And it also does that in other ways. One way is to discourage the use of quotas. And another way is to make a country's trade rules as transparent as possible. Many WTO agreements require governments to disclose their policies and practices publicly within the country or by notifying the WTO. The regular surveillance of national trade policies through the Trade Police Review mechanism provides a further means of encouraging transparency both domestically and at the multilateral level. And if you now want to know more about European politics from a German point of view, I put my next video in the end screen. Click and enjoy. I'll see you there. Viel Spaß!